Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about scaling numbers, okay? And that just means like taking one number and multiplying it by another number to get a bigger number, or taking a number and dividing it by a number to get a smaller number, okay? That's what scaling is, okay? You could even multiply a number and divide that number all at once, okay? So it's kind of like, if you think about it, architects, right? They draw blueprints for a house or a building or whatever, but they're a lot smaller, okay? And the actual life size house is going to be maybe, I don't know, 10 times as big as the drawing, or 50 times as big as the drawing, or something like that. So that's what scale factors are, or when we talk about scaling numbers, okay? It's just multiplying or dividing one number and then getting a new number, okay? So here's how we're going to start. How to divide and multiply to get from one number to another number, okay? So here's my first example. The first number we're going to start with is 8. And my second number is 9. So the thing is, what can I do to go from 8 to 9? Now I know you're saying, oh, just add 1. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, we're going to do this in like 2 steps. What can I divide 8 by first, and then multiply that result by to get 9, okay? So watch this. I'm going to take the 8, okay, I'm going to start with the 8, and I'm going to divide it by 8, okay? All right, so that's my first step. Here's my first step, right? I'm dividing it by 8, okay? And what do I get? 8 divided by 8 is 1, isn't it? Okay, and now, how do I get from 1 to 9? So I can go 1 times 9, right? This is my second step. 1 times 9, what does that equal? That equals 9. So watch what I did. To go from 8 to 9, I divided by 8 first. I divided by 8, and then I multiplied by 9. Okay, so to go from 8 to 9, I divide by 8 first to get 1, then I multiply that 1 by 9, and that gives me 9. Or you can simply go from 8, start with 8, and I can multiply by, well, let's see, what did I multiply by? I multiplied by the 9, right? So I'm multiplying by a 9, and I'm dividing by an 8. Dividing by an 8, okay? And guess what that equals? 8 times 9 divided by 8 equals 9. Okay? So that's how we're going to do it. Okay, it's 2 steps. Well, 3 steps. First step, divide. Second step, multiply. And then third step, write it as a fraction. Okay, I multiplied by the 9, so the 9 goes in the numerator. I divided by the 8, so the 8 goes in the denominator. Okay, and as long as I'm dividing by 8 and multiplying by 9, that's how I go from 8 to 9. Okay, let's try another example. All right, let's try to go from 8 to 60. Okay, all right, so watch this. I'm going to go 8, right? My first step, right? My first step. I'm going to divide by what? Well, what did I do here? I divided by 8, so divide by 8, right? And that gives me 1, okay? And then my second step, I'm going to take that 1, and what do I need to do? Times it by what to get 60? Okay, 1 times 60, and doesn't that equal 60? All right. Okay, so this is what I do. I'm going to take that 8, okay, and I'm going to multiply it by something over something. Well, I multiplied by 60, so that's going to be 60, okay, and I divided it by 8, so 60 divided by 8, and that equals 60, right? Okay, but this right here, okay, this is true, this is correct, but we want it simplified, okay? So let's simplify 60 divided by 8, okay? So this is going to turn into 8 times, well, what number goes into 60? It also goes into 8. Well, I know I could cut 60 in half and get 30. I could cut 8 in half and get 4, okay? Can you reduce that for me? Can you figure out what that's going to be? Okay. All right, well, here we go. I believe that it is 15 over 2, okay? All right, 15 times 4 is 60, 2 times 4 is 8. So that's the reduced fraction, and that equals 60. There we go. Let's try one more, okay? Let's try to go from 15 to 25, 15 to 25. Okay, see if you guys can do that. All right, here we go. If you need more time, just keep the video paused. Okay, here we go. First step, I'm going to take 15 and divide by 15. Okay, and that equals 1. All right, then my second step, I'm going to take that 1 and multiply by 25 to get the 25. Okay. All right, so how do I do it in just one step? Well, start with 15. I'm going to multiply by, what did I multiply by? I multiplied by the 25, so that goes in my numerator. What did I divide by? I divided by 15, okay? And 15 times 25 divided by 15 equals 25, okay? If you want, you could look, the 15s cancel, right? Okay, and you're left with 25. Here, the same thing, the 8s cancel, you're left with 60. Here, the same thing, the 8s cancel, you're left with 9. Okay, that's kind of how it works, okay? But the thing is, we want to simplify this. So what does that simplify to? So this is going to be 15 times, well, what number goes into 25 and 15? That's right, it's 5. So 5 goes into 25 5 times, and into 15 3 times, okay? So that's my answer right there. That's what I'm going to multiply by to get 15 to turn into 25, okay? All right, now let's see if we can apply that to, oh, look at that. Huh. Must have been one of the little nephews drawing on my, okay, well, I'm gonna work on through this. Here we go. So part B, find the scale factor. Okay, and that's basically what we've been doing, okay? All of these are scale factors. 9 over 8 is a scale factor. 15 over 2 is a scale factor. 5 over 3 is the scale factor. All right, so here we go. We're going to find a scale factor to go from one triangle to the next. So here's my first example, okay? Here's my triangle. This triangle, it's a right triangle, and the height of this triangle is 4, and the base of this triangle is 6. And I want to go to this triangle right here. Okay, it's also a right triangle. The height of it is 2 and the base of it is 3. Okay, how can I do that? Well, let's just choose one side, okay? How can I go from a 6 to a 3? I'm going to use the same steps that I know most of you could probably do this in your head, okay? But I'm not going to give you easy problems like this every time. So we're going to use the same steps I just showed you, okay? So I want to go from a 6 to a 3, right? So watch this. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. 1 times 3 equals 3. So I'm going to go 6 times, right? I times by 3 divided by 6, and that equals 3, right? The 6's cancel, okay? And watch this. What is 3 over 6 reduced to? 3 over 6 reduces to 1/2. So that is my scale factor. That's my scale factor. And let's prove it. Ready? What is 1/2 times 6? What is 6 times 1/2? 6 times 1/2 is 3. Half of 6, that's 3. Well, let's see if it works here. What is half of 4? That's 2. Okay, so there's our scale factor. All right, let's try another one. All right, let's try this square. Oh, well, it's not a square. I'm sorry. This is a rectangle. This side here, the height is 9 and the base is 10. Okay, and we're going to go to this rectangle right here. Okay, not drawn to scale. Okay, the height of this is 5. No, that's wrong. I'm sorry. My bad. The height of this is 9/2. Oh man, what? How on earth are we ever going to figure this out? Okay, and then the base here is 5. Okay, so let's just pick the two. I like this, the 10 and the 5. Let's do this. Okay, how do I go from a 10 to a 5? And I know some of you guys are like, oh, just divide by 2. Yeah, that's right, divide by 2. Okay, I'll show you. Watch. 10 divided by 10, that equals 1. Okay. 1 times 5, there's my 5, okay? So this is going to be 10 times, I times by 5, so 5 divided by 10, okay, equals my 5, okay? Notice I'm doing the same steps over and over and over and over and over, okay? The 10s cancel, 5 equals 5, okay? But let's reduce this, okay? So 5 over 10, that equals 1/2. Oh, look, my scale factor again is 1/2, okay? And let's try it. There's my scale factor. Okay, there's my scale factor. What is 10 times 1/2, or half of 10? That's 5. What is 9 times 1/2? That's 9/2 right there. So we did it. Okay, let's do one more. I promise I won't torture you anymore. Here we go. We have this triangle here. Okay, and this guy is 9 and this guy is 7. Okay, and then we have this triangle here. Okay, this is 35 and this is 45. Can you guys find the scale factor? Okay. Now again, you could probably do this in your head, okay? But it's probably better to follow the steps in case you come across a problem you can't do in your head, okay? All right, so let's see what number matches up with what number, okay? Well, the 7, does it match up with the 45 or does it match up with the 35? Well, here the 7 is the smallest. So over here, the 35 is the smallest. So the 7 matches up with the 35. So I'm going to go 7 divided by 7, that equals 1. 1 times 35, that equals 35. Okay, so it's 7 times 35 over 7, and that gives me my 35. So now just reduce this. What is 35 divided by 7? That's right, it's 5. So my scale factor is 5. And we're done, okay? Hopefully that was helpful. If you need any more help or encouragement, find me in my office hours. All right, peace.